Hello, it's Lucio Alejo here, and today I will share with you my model class that helped me to work in a top university here in Lima, Peru. So, if you are an English teacher, or are you a student of methodology, or are you any kind of professional who also wants to become an English teacher, you need to know one thing that if you want to become part of an institution, such as a language center of a university or an institute, you need to prove yourself that you can share your knowledge to students. And the only way to do this is by giving a model class to the people in charge of the institution, right? Typically coordinators of there. So I'm going to break down to you every single step that you need to take in order to become part of an institute. And the most important thing, I will share with you my model class that allowed me to work in a top university. I hope that you can find this video valuable. And please, if you like this video, if you find this video valuable, you know what to do. Subscribe to my channel, like, or give us a comment in the comment sections below. Okay, let's get ready. So first things first, you need to know that there is a process of selection if you want to apply to work as an English teacher in any institute. And the process of selection looks like this. First, you will need to send your CV or resume to the institution. After that, they will test your English level through an exam. Then you will have to prepare a model class or a micro teaching, as some institutions call it. Last but not least is the interview. Now, sometimes these steps are different depending on the institution that you're applying to. But in most of the cases, these are the steps that they usually follow. And the first thing is the resume, right? I mean, they need to check that you are qualified to belong to that institution. And some of the things that they look for is if you have studied methodology, if you have your degree in education, your previous experience. But the most important thing here is that you need to prove the employers that you have a good level of English. The only way to prove that is by holding an international certificate, such as the FCE or the first, and the CAE C1 Advanced. This is the first stepping stone. Okay, if you don't have this, believe me, you can apply several times or as many times as you can, but you will never get that call. Never. Okay, because like I always say to my students, this is the only way to prove yourself that you have a good command of the language. There is no other way to do that. Well, after that, you need to take an exam. Once you get the call, well, they called you, right? They called you. They tell you the dates when they are available. And then typically you go to the institute and you have to take an exam. Depending on the institution that you're planning to apply, you could be taken the ECPE, which is the Michigan exam, or you could be taking kind of the FCE version there. Just this is a very good step because, okay, so you show us in your resume that you have the certificates, but they want to make sure that you're not lying. So this is the way for them to verify that you have a good English level. So yeah, it's not only the paper, but also, okay, show me that you got a good English level. So this is more or less what your employers want. And then they got the micro teaching, which is, okay, so you've been through the resume step, the English level test, and now it's time to show your employers that you actually can share your knowledge easily and effectively to their students, to their clients. And you need to give a model class, right? You need to share a model class. You need to prepare a model class to them so that they can see that you get the knack of it, so that you that you have the abilities, the skills that it takes to share your knowledge to their future clients. Yeah, we're going to talk about that later. And of course, the last step is the interview, in which you will, most of the cases, will talk with the CEO of the company or the academic coordinators. And yeah, I mean, we can talk about that in a different video, but the purpose of this video is to focus on the micro teaching, which is the model class that you have to prepare, which I believe it's one of the most important steps if you want to be part of an institute. So, having said this, let me share with you my story of what happened to me so that you can use this as um, as a map, as a roadmap, so that you can be prepared for your future interviews or micro teachings. This is some information about the micro teaching or my model class that I had to prepare when I was applying to a prestigious institution. Well, I only had between 10 to 15 minutes to do it. So it's not, I know it's not much time, but you have to find a way. There is always a way to do this in this short length of time. The group of people, they usually tell you what kind of people you need to work with. Teenagers, young adults, elderly people, children. You have to make sure that you're activating the 4 skills, right? You need to make sure that you have prepared activities for listening, reading, writing, and speaking. Okay, so yeah, basically the multiple intelligence theory must be considered here when you are preparing your class. And it must be student-centered. So less teacher talking time and more student talking time. Yeah, I mean, the students are the center of attention. So you have to prepare your class for them, not for you. All right, for them. Everything is for them. Everything is for the client. Everything is for the students. And the last one, it has to be fun and entertaining, because nobody likes a serious teacher who is just sharing his knowledge or her knowledge. No, I mean, you have to be fun. You have to be entertaining. I'm not telling you to drop jokes. Of course not. I mean, why not? But maybe from time to time, like you could do something funny, right? Something funny, like showing them a cartoon or a meme, or just asking about their weekend, how their weekend went, and maybe sharing your anecdotes too. So trying to be nice with the people, right? So this is, I believe, it's not like when you read methodology books, people don't talk about this, but you should. You should be fun. You should be entertaining. Well, what about my model class? So typically when you apply for an institute, they give you the topic, like they tell you, okay, so you have to prepare a class on this topic particularly, and you have this length of time. The class will be for this specific group of people. and you have this, and that. So they give you everything. They they provide you with all the details. Now it's your job to prepare a model class. In some cases, you have just a few minutes to prepare that on the spot on the same day. In other situations, they give you a day, like the next day, you have to prepare the class. And of course, when you get home, you have to prepare the slides and the reality and everything. But yeah, so you have to do what they tell you to do. And in my case, it was the verb to be. I remember that clearly. I had to prepare my class on the verb to be. So back then, I didn't know what to do. I'm going to share with that. I'm going to share with my model class with you. I'm going to share with you my model class later. So just hold your horses. But back then, I didn't have much experience because I started working at schools when I was 17 years old. And it was, it's just school. So you don't need to be that methodological. Well, I didn't have much experience back then. But anyway, so I had to work on this topic, the verb to be. Then my class had to be for young adults, people from ages 18 to probably 35 or 40. And I only had 15 minutes to show off. I only had 15 minutes to show my future employers and how how I can teach the verb to be to them, right? How I can make this fun, but also worth it, right? So this is what I did. And I have to be honest with you, this is actually not my original idea because this is not my original idea because my original idea or the person who got this idea was one of my friends. And of course, I'm not going to say his name, but yeah, I mean, this was taken from one of my friends, right? So anyway, so the verb to be, of course. So what I did at the beginning was to show my students these sentences, right? So I showed them these sentences, and then, of course, I mean, the first step is to elicit information from your clients, elicit information from your students. Remember, you have to increase student talking time and reduce teachers talking time. So I just began my class by asking them a couple of questions like, okay, guys, take a look at the sentences. What do you see here? And think about the words. So what's this? Oh, it's the subject. What about this? Oh, it's the verb to be. Oh, perfect. Very good. And then I asked them like, okay, so what about if I want to make a question? Oh, yes, you have to change the word order. All right, so now is he a doctor? Is she an athlete? Is his name Arnold? Etc. 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 So that's the first thing that you have to make sure that you do in your model class. Elicit information from the class. Everything is not on you, guys. No, you have to give responsibility to the students. Okay? You have to give responsibility to the students. You have to make them part of the learning process. It's not you like the center of attention, the wizard, or the brain. No, you have to give them some responsibility too, because believe it or not, there's always a person or two who know the answer for this. And yeah, so you can use that as a leverage. Now, after you elicit information from your class, from your students, and after you gave them this framework of, okay, so what is the subject, what is the verb to be, and how you can build questions, and after you work with this, you give them the explanation, right? Like the formulas, if you will. In this case, okay, so Which is the subject? The subject is he. What about the verb to be? Is. How about the complement? Doctor. Now, what about if you want to create a question? Remember what we did in the previous slide? Yes, we need to use the verb to be at the beginning, the subject then, and then the complement. And what about if I want to answer positively and negatively? Well, oh yes, we have to use yes, he is, no, he isn't, etc., etc., etc. So now what you're doing is that you are confirming that this information is whatever they thought before, that this information is real. And what I did back then was basically to show them specifically and clearly what is what. Like, okay, so this is a subject, this is a verb to be, this is an affirmative sentence. The ones below are just no questions, etc. So, I mean, this must be very clear for the students, right? Like students need to leave the class with something valuable. And yeah, I mean, if you have to do this, you have to do it. I mean, I know it takes time for us to create slides like this, but believe me, if it is for the students to help them learn faster and effectively, you must do it. And well, of course, and after these activities, I remember I prepared some realia, like I make them stand up from the classroom, and then we did some pair work activities, then we did some group work activities as well. I remember I did some charades too, like, okay, so let's imagine you're a famous actor, ask some questions to your partners, etc., etc., etc. Anyway, and after this, what comes next? Okay, and after you show them the formulas, and here comes the mechanical part, right? I just told them to, okay, look at these prompts. You have to create sentences, you have to create questions, you have to answer the questions positively, negatively, choosing what you learned before. Okay, as you know, as most of you know, this is the mechanical side of the lesson. And yeah, for most of them, they will find this activity tedious, but I believe it's necessary. Drills is necessary because there is a quote, right? Repetition is the mother of a skill. Repetition is the mother of a skill. The more times you do something, the better or the more memorable it will be. And after this activity, of course, comes the more entertaining and fun activities, such as pair works, group work. I remember I did some kind of charades activities for this one. I told one of my students, okay, so you're going to be this person, a famous actor. Then their classmates had to ask him or her some questions, and they had to guess who this famous person was, and so on and so forth. So I made them stand up from their seats. We walk around the classroom, made them move, especially for the kinesthetic people. They found this activity very valuable and fun. And yeah, that usually comes at the end of the class. But at the beginning, usually we had to do these kind of mechanical activities. So yeah, and that's it. That's it. I mean, it's not um, that big of a deal. As long as you remember this, elicitation, presentation, production, right? I mean, production of activities here, mechanical activities, and then of course more open activities where they have to move, where they have to be more creative. You can create any kind of model class, guys. It's just a matter of being creative, innovative, bold, and just make this valuable as much as valuable as possible. Okay, and that's it. That was basically my model class. And if you want to copy it, go ahead and do it. If you want to present this as well, go ahead and do it. I don't have any problems. It worked for me, and I believe it can work for you as well. Okay. Now, some recommendations. What really worked for me back then when I made this transition from working from school to work in a university was to ask more experienced teachers for advice. So I used to get along with people who were already working in big institutions, and I asked them for advice. I asked them for recommendations because remember one thing: if you believe you know everything, you're dead. If you believe you know everything, you're dead. So we don't know everything. Okay, you need to understand that. You need to put your ego aside. You need to put on the hat of a student, of a learner, and learn from other people, especially the ones who have more experience. So I would recommend to observe other teachers. So if you have friends who are already working in the places where you want to work, ask them for advice, ask them if it is possible for you to observe their classes. If you have to pay for that, do it. Okay, don't be so cheap with yourselves. Do it. It's an investment. Okay. Another thing that you can do is to read methodology books. You need to read methodology books on this. They typically have good exercises and activities that you can use and also apply it in your mother classes. And some of the activities could work, others couldn't. It depends on what you're trying to teach. A good series of books would be the How to Teach series, like the How to Teach Writing, How to Teach Reading, How to Teach Listening. That is a good book. Great. Principles of Teaching too. And yeah, they're good methodology books. I mean, just type methodology books to teach English in Google, and you will find a lot of information there. The next one, get ready. I mean, if they tell you that you need to prepare a model class from one day to the other, well, don't go to a party, man. Don't go to a party on the same night. You need to rest, be ready, prepare your slides, prepare your realia, prepare your activities. So you have to be ready for war. You cannot be you cannot improvise, especially in that moment, because this is the moment of glory. This is your moment for you to show off how much you have learned, how much effort, money, time you have invested throughout your education. So get ready. Be a man, be a woman, stop being a child. The last one, like I said before, find a mentor. Find someone who has already achieved what you want and ask them for advice. And don't be so cheap with yourself. If you have to pay for them, if you have to pay them for their knowledge, do it. Last year, 2022, I hired a coach. Yeah, I hired a coach because I had some obstacles in my life and in my academy that I wanted to solve. And I did it. I had to pay money, of course. It was not cheap, it was expensive, but I had to do it because I know that I will never get the results, different results, if I keep doing the same things over and over and over again. So if you want to get different results, you have to do something different. Okay? So find a mentor. And speaking of that, let me invite you to this free webinar. So there is a free webinar, guys, where I'm giving you and sharing with you my most effective strategies for you to get your FCE and your CAE. And remember, like I said previously, if you don't have these certificates, you will never get a call for you to show them your micro teaching or your model classes. So this is the first thing that you need to have, that you need to hold. And I have prepared a free training. You can get access to this. It's free. I share more tips on how to get these international certifications. So please check the link. I will drop the link to in the comment section below. And if you have any questions, please ask me the questions down below. I'm gonna read your comments. And if you like the video, please give it a like, subscribe, and share it. Share it with your friends, your colleagues. And yeah, that will definitely motivate me to prepare more videos like this. So that's it for today. Have a great day. God bless you. And I'll see you around. Bye-bye.